Join Marty Johnson, the holistic health practitioner and founder of Total Health Nutrition Center in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, as he delivers these podcasts to enlighten you and give you hope that there are health solutions to conditions that seem difficult to resolve, or even better answers than a medical approach of prescribing a chemical drug, which most times is nothing more than a Band-Aid fix, rather than getting to the root cause of your problem. The mission of the Total Health podcast is to provide the education and support that will lead to transforming people's healths so they can live a much more efficient, productive, and happier life the way God intended it to be. Join him now for his latest podcast.
Hello, thank you for tuning in to this segment of our podcast. We'd like to be able to talk about the difference between naturopathic medicine or natural medicine and allopathic medicine, which is the medical system that we know of in our country today, which is more pharmaceutically driven. I'd like to start out, first of all, just talking more about the natural medicine, seeing that I'm a naturopathic practitioner, and we'll talk a little bit about that as far as what it's about. First of all, it's a healthcare system that features only natural ingredients and disciplines. The word naturopathy was first used in the United States about 110 years ago, and the philosophy for natural medicine has been really effectively used to treat physical and emotional conditions since ancient times. So with the philosophy of naturopathic medicine, it really goes back to, first of all, the premise that the body will always try to balance itself out in an attempt to to heal. It's basically called homeostasis. So the body's desire to go back to balance, no matter what the situation, called homeostasis, is really what sets the premise for natural medicine. So when the body becomes out of balance, it's going to do whatever it can to rebalance itself. And that actually is what can start to cause symptoms. So the body can go quite a ways without really, without you knowing that there's anything wrong. It's going to keep trying to compensate for little imbalances going on. And you may not even know those imbalances are there because the body is so good at compensating for these imbalances. But it's only going to do that for so long until it can no longer compensate enough. In other words, if there's toxicities or maybe malnutrition, heavy stress that's creating imbalances in the body will compensate so long, and then finally, it, like a check engine light, it's going to start to show you some symptoms, basically saying, hey, listen, I can no longer compensate. You better do something about it. It's actually trying to heal itself, but it can't overcome those imbalances, so therefore a symptom might occur. A good example of the compensation factor with the body are two endocrine glands, like your thyroid and adrenal. This is kind of just a simple example, but if a person's thyroid is becoming slightly underactive, and it may not even show up on blood work yet, the glands that are right above the kidneys, there's two glands called the adrenal glands. They produce adrenaline and different hormones like epinephrine and norepinephrine that they're neurotransmitters that can help you with anything from feeling up and happy to balancing blood sugar and so forth. But these adrenal glands play a big role in your energy level. Obviously, adrenaline is a big part of that. So the thyroid stress, you may not even know that you're feeling that, or may not even know it because your energy levels are still fine because the adrenal glands are compensating. But after a while, that's only going to happen for so long, and the adrenal glands are going to be like, hey, listen, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep compensating for a thyroid that's not holding its weight. And when that starts to decline, then you might start to feel like, wow, I feel more tired or less motivated, maybe even sometimes even wired and tired, because the adrenal glands are trying to overcompensate too much when they're becoming too tired, if you will. So you can get all these kind of symptoms, maybe lower libido, lack of focus, lack of concentration, fogginess, many different things. So the body will try to do this until you start to notice these symptoms. It's like a check engine light. And if we don't remove the very things that are creating the imbalance, like I said, maybe toxicities or malnutrition or stress, then the body actually will continue to spiral into more and more imbalance. But if we start to look at the root cause issues like toxicity or malnutrition or dealing with lifestyle and stress, then we have a chance to remove the interference, and the body's own ability to want to balance, homeostasis, will kick in and start to heal itself. So that's the beauty of naturopathic medicine, is we're really letting the body just do what God intended it to do. So now let's switch over to allopathic medicine and look at the differences. So allopathic medicine, as I said before, is more pharmaceutically driven. And many times with allopathic medicine, what's happening is they're looking at a symptom. So basically we're trying to address the symptoms with a chemical drug, such as maybe cholesterol medications or blood pressure medication, maybe reflux medications like Nexium and so forth. But rarely are we really, in allopathic medicine, are we really looking at addressing the underlying root cause or imbalance that triggered the problem in the first place. This approach is counterproductive, really, and destructive in the long run. So think of this. Some medications may be trying to correct a symptom that was originally caused by an underlying environmental toxic exposure due to all the chemicals used in our society, things that are in the food, things that are pesticides that are sprayed on lawns, various things, plastics in our industry, petroleum products. So now we're trying to temporarily suppress a symptom with an additional chemical drug on top of the chemicals that are already in the system. So can this actually make you feel better? Absolutely. When you take a chemical drug, and it's a powerful substance, so it'll go in and it'll actually force a change in the body. But the problem is that you're forcing a change with another chemical. And what did we say the body is always looking to do? It's always looking to go back to homeostasis. So if we're forcing a change, you're going to temporarily, or maybe even over a period of time, get a quick response and maybe a quick relief to a symptom, but you're actually creating more and more imbalance in the body by putting that toxin in. And the more you're on a particular drug, like I'll give you an example, the longer that you're on a blood pressure medication, many times, I'm not saying that every time is this case, but many times we'll see people, and I see it all the time, the longer you're on a blood pressure medications, for example, different organs will actually become more saturated with the byproduct of that chemical drug, almost like the residue of that drug. And it'll actually start to create a situation where the body or the person needs higher doses of that medication to manage that symptom. And sometimes after a while, you might even know someone like this where, okay, they had to have their medication or their blood pressure medication or cholesterol medication increased so that it continues to work. And then after a while, then it doesn't work anymore. So now they have to switch it to a different medication that might take a different pathway in the body. And now that will work for a while until that person's been on that product or drug for a while. And then the same thing happens. They have to increase it and then eventually switch it over. A classic example that I see many times is with diabetes medications. So if a person isn't handling diabetes at its root cause through diet, through cleaning up toxins out of the cells so the cells can actually hear the insulin, what happens is that people will end up starting out with maybe a medication like metformin or glyburide. Some of these medications actually enhance the ability for the cell to hear insulin. But after a while, if we're not correcting the root cause, the person's going to need more and more of those medications, higher doses. And then maybe they might switch to a different medication that does a similar thing. And eventually, if that stops working, then they end up on insulin. And once you're on insulin, then it becomes even harder to really start to correct the problem because the body is actually getting more and more out of balance from these medications. So I hope this helps a bit. Just wanted to give you the contrast between these two approaches to helping the body. As you hopefully can see, one approach is a much more deeper level balancing root cause approach than the other. But I wanted to give you that perspective today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us today on the Total Health Podcast. If you'd like more information about how Total Health can transform your health, check them out. They would love to set up a free consultation with you over the phone. Call them at 262-251-2929 to make that appointment. Otherwise, you can check them out on the web at www.totalhealthinc.com.